Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to another Premier Division preview show. Obviously, no football last week in the Premier Division we had in the First Division, but delighted JP is supposed to be back in action really after the international break.
Oh yeah, it's something that we haven't
Anti-Cup.
haven't been used to. In the League of Ireland, we know we've had maybe games called off because of international, but as a fan, something to get used to.
Mm.
Because I think it's here to stay, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's the right thing, by the way, as well, even though we
Yeah.
all miss it. And I do think it's the right thing, to be fair. And there are plenty of players in the league on international duty at various grades. It's great to see as well, actually, being under 17, under whatever, 18, 19, under 21, even on the squad,
Yeah.
in the squad. So that was fantastic to see as well. We'll start off with your team. We'll start off with Derry City. They travelled to Daleyman Park to take on Bohemians. Bohemians sixth in
Yeah.
the table. Derry, the league leaders, 7 points behind them. Derry City, I believe Lafferty is the latest on the injury list. Any update on him? A couple of weeks, maybe?
Yeah, I read that from Rory
Yeah.
the other day. He didn't. He said it was a grade one tear, which apparently is a few days or something like that, 10 to 12 days or something. So he doesn't expect them to make um the Bulls game on Friday, but he
Mm.
didn't say anything whether he'd be back for UCD or Harps. He just sort of said that he wouldn't make the Bulls game. So big loss for us. He's been instrumental for us so far this season. Up and down that left wing and linking up well with the forward men. So be interesting to see how Rory changes it up for this game.
Yeah, you'd wonder if he just simply tucks Dummigan on the left wing back position and brings
Yeah,
someone else into midfield. I know
yeah,
McElhenney and
he's got
Smith have been a bit stop start as well, you know?
he's got the option too of bringing Kieran Collin to play that role, but
Yeah.
I think Rory even touched on it himself in the piece that I read that they're two different fullbacks. So
Mm-hmm.
um, the bringing Kieran in does have to change the system as well. They suit
Mm.
the attacking sort of play. So look, whoever comes in, I know that they'll do a good job. 100% faith in Rory and the decision he makes. But it's what we've wanted as a squad. That we know that if somebody misses out, that we can just draft somebody in. And I think this season more than most, and that I can ever remember, Derry City has that. And as you touched on already, Cameron Dummigan is versatile. He can play right back, right wing back, centre mid while you move over to the left for this game just to sort of keep
Mm.
that shape that we've been playing the last few games. So it'll be interesting to see. Who knows?
Yeah, I'd imagine he'd want to keep the shape, to be honest with you. He wouldn't like to change the whole system because one player's out or one player's to come in. I would
Yeah,
imagine personally. From a
yeah,
Bohemians point of view, it'd be interesting to see if they change their shape. But for as long as Keith Long has been there pretty much the last few years, he doesn't really change his shape, does he? They've been struggling a little bit in terms of I don't know, confidence, results, obviously. Defensively, not the best, maybe, but at the same time, they seem to be lacking in other areas as well, don't they?
I they just don't seem to have that cutting edge or that spark that they had in the last couple of years. And um, I think the last couple of years that they may be punching above their weight when they qualified for Europe. And
Mm.
that's no disrespect, they Bose or Keith Long, but when you look throughout the league and the teams that they had actually pipped to those European places have maybe now caught up with Bose and they've lost a few players. They are clubs within the league. They've lost Georgie Kelly,
Mm.
to England.
Of course,
And
Ross
they just
Tierney, a big loss. He
lost
scored
Tierney as
in a
well.
brilliant win the other day for
Scored,
the Irish under 21s, you know?
scored last night. So
Yeah.
they're trying to adapt. They haven't lost the likes to Keith Ward, Ross Tierney, Georgie Kelly, especially Kelly and or sorry, Tierney and Ward, who've been there the last
Mm.
how many years, and they've become accustomed to the system. They've maybe been the
Mm.
system, the teams that Bose maybe built around. So they've brought in Jordan Flores. They've a lot of new players this year as well. So
Mm.
it's maybe taking time to adapt, and maybe the international break was a welcome addition for Keith Long because he can get the players on the training field um and show them, get them knowing one another, knowing the system. Like Stephen Mallon was there last year, but he spent a lot of it in injury. I hope for Stephen's sake that he can stay injury free, because at Derry, I don't think he managed to stay injury free, and there was a lot of stop starting there too. And so they've a lot of good players there. So they're by no means we're going to write them off. I think Promise Sumachare, is it Sumachare you call him?
Yeah.
Up front has a lot, and I don't pardon the pun, but does have a lot of promise from what I saw last year in the Brandywell. He especially when he was playing from the wide area. So they do have a lot of good players there that if they can get it right, get the shape right, get the likes of Dawson Devoy maybe playing a bit further forward. They do have the players there. They hurt any team in the league.
Yeah, the likes of Twardick as well. But Twardick is your typical outside right. There's not too many of them anymore. You know, he gets to the byline, gets good crosses into the box. But I notice at times Bohemians don't have the players in the box to take advantage of that. Promise can a little bit. But the problem is you're coming up against a Derry team that are going to play 3 central defenders as well. So space will be a bit limited. So they're losing out. You mentioned Ross Tierney. That's where they're losing out in the Ross Tierney making those runs into the box. And you would like to think Flores would do that, but he hasn't really done that. He's been more holding in midfield. I'm not saying he's a holding midfielder, but he hasn't been making those little breaks, you know, forward into the box. So they need someone like that, particularly against a team like Derry who do play 3 at the back and 3, you know, good centre backs as well, don't they?
Oh, you do. I don't know what. I don't think it matters what sort of team you come up against. I think you need to get. You will have your 1 striker, your 2 strikers. You need midfielders joining them. They not even maybe they score the goals, but they sort of create that uncertainty in the defence that they maybe take their eye off the ball, and all of a sudden then the striker gets in and score. You just sort of need somebody from midfield. They provide that bit of a nuisance in there. And you touched on especially against 3 centre backs and 3 good centre backs at that as well. And Twardick one side, Mal on the other side. They've got 2 really good wingers that can provide the crosses if they get the men in the box. And I hope for Derry's sake that it doesn't come off this weekend. But I think throughout the season, the more games Chris Twardick plays, the more Stephen Mallon plays, and they will create the chances for the guys if they get themselves in the box. And it will be difficult for both, but at the same time, I think it'll be difficult for Derry as well, because I think Derry, after that great one against St. Pat's, would have wanted to have another game the following week just to keep the momentum rolling. They kind of lost that wee bit of momentum where they had to train for a week, and then now they're starting to build up for the Bows game. But I think this will be I think this will be a good game now. I know we look back at the last time we met in Dalymount, it was a absolutely thrilling game where 2 teams were going hammers and tongs, and right to the very end. And I think this will have the same kind of feel to it. But I think Derry will be taking the game to Bows more than Bows taking the game to Derry this time. Because Derry are top of the table, they'll want to do that. They'll want to stamp their authority on the game, and that's where Bows maybe could be dangerous.
How are you going to call this one?
I think it could be one of them games where we spoke in the past about Bows could maybe win a game that they're not expected to win and lose a game where they're not expected to lose. And I think this falls into that category. Derry are top of the league, 7 points clear. Bows, everybody's expecting Derry to go down and not lose. Maybe many people will be expecting to win. I think Derry will shade this. I don't think we'll win easy. I think it'll be a goal or something similar to maybe how we beat St. Pat's and Rovers, maybe a last minute winner or something like that, or something similar to how we beat Shelbourne. But I think Derry will win this. I'm gonna go 2-1 Derry City.
I have a little inkling the Bows might get something out of the game, but I don't think they'll do enough to win the game. I think they might get a draw, 1-1. Next up, we've got Dundalk and UCD, and would you believe between both teams, they've won 1 match all season, 15 games so far 13 games, I should say. What am I talking about? 13 games? Yeah, 13 games between the 2 of them. UCD played 6 and Dundalk played 7. Yeah, 1 win between the 2 of them, but obviously we spoke about Dundalk and how they've had a lot of draws and that draw to defeat would have knocked them back, I think, big time. They have to go into this game, Oriel Park, and there's no real excuses. Like, no offense to UCD or anything, but really Dundalk have to come out with a win here at Oriel Park, don't they?
I think they do. They've had one win all year, and it's come at home against Harps. Again, this game's at Oriel Park. They'll be expecting again to come out with a win, a comfortable one at that as well. One win in 13 games between the two of them is it's unbelievable, really. And there's probably 5 or 6 draws in there.
Yeah,
because I think
eight altogether. If you combine both teams, 8 draws. Yeah,
that's incredible. If you said to Stephen O'Donnell at the start of the season, after 7 games, you'll have 1 win, but you'll still be sitting in 5th place. He probably would have looked at you and thought you were mad, but the reality is there, and they lost their last game, didn't they, against Drogheda?
Yeah. That was their first defeat as well. We should throw in
first defeat as well.
It's funny, it works both ways, doesn't it? In a way, like, you know,
they've had so many draws in between. They've had so many draws in them first 7 games or the first 6 before that they could have easily beat Derry, but at the same time they could have easily lost. Same with Rovers. I think they missed the last minute sitter. I think there was probably a feeling there that they really are going to nick one of them close games, or they were going to lose one of them close games. And unfortunately for them, before the break, they lost it. They're Derby rivals against Drogheda, so they want to bounce back. They've had a week preparation. They've had a fortnight preparation. They dust that defeat down and go again and really start turning them draws into wins. And this is a game that they'll have to win, especially if they want to sort of keep in touch with the top 4, because let's be honest, Dundalk probably aren't going to win the league this year, but there's nothing to say that they can't be in the mix for the top 3 or 4, and they do that. They have to beat UCD, especially at Oriel Park.
Yeah, they look like a team, even watching them play, that they are in serious transition. But as you say, you can be in transition this league and still potentially qualify for Europe. At the moment, it just looks a bit, I don't know, not disorganized isn't the word, but if so many teams have a lot of new players, I know that as well, but they just have, after last year, I think it was, to be honest with you, there's so many changes from last year compared to other teams as well, and they are starting afresh. Obviously, O'Donnell's in there, new owners, new players. Obviously, still have your Rubens and players like that at the club as well. I think it's a bit. I still think I said this earlier before. It's a little bit of a free hit, I think, for O'Donnell this season. I think he could finish 6th or 7th, and there wouldn't be too much aggro, let's say. So for Dundalk, it's a season of development and trying to develop their team as best they can, but next year they'll probably have to push on. But in the meantime, as you say, there is a chance they could qualify for Europe. From UCD's point of view, still no wins, obviously, in 6. A couple of half decent draws there for them as well. But they're in a position where I think they've looked a bit defensively better in some of the games, and then some games have looked very bad defensively. So they're kind of, hit and miss. But I think they need to somehow try and get Whelan scoring goals. They've only scored 3 goals this season. I don't think Whelan has scored yet, actually, hasn't he not? I don't think he has.
No.
So I could be wrong there, but I don't think he scored yet. So they need to create the opportunities, I suppose. I know Liam Kerrigan has been showing well for them, to be fair. A little bit easier at the midfield areas to get on the ball and that, but they need to find ways to get Whelan into games and actually get opportunities, because it's not as if he's even missing chances at the moment.
No, and it's that old adage of it, scoring goals in the first division and trying to make the step up to the Premier Division, where you're coming up against much stronger defences and much better midfields as well. So the service indie is being limited, and any service you do get, you really have to take it, as simple as that. And look, I haven't seen much of UCD this season, so I don't know whether they've been creating chances, but I know the last game against Bows, Bows were, according to Bows fans, they were happy with the draw and the end up, because apparently UCD really did give them a good game in that, and probably should have walked away with the 3 points. But as you say, they have to get Whelan, because he's a main man from last year. He's the one that everybody was talking about, It'll be interesting now. The season really starting to take shape. And the games don't get any easier, especially if you're a newly promoted team. The more you go without winning, the more the pressure builds.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to see Dundalk. Yeah, go on ahead.
yeah, especially Whelan, he's 6 games in now. He hasn't scored, so pressure could be starting to mount him as well. I'm sure he's a strong boy and he'll know how to deal with that. But at the same time, he'll probably have set himself targets coming into the season, and the longer he goes without scoring, the less chance he's going to have to meet those targets. And but look, I think nobody's expecting UCD to win any game of football this season. I think they're going into every game with probably a free hit. The only people expect them to maybe win is themselves. So I think for Andy Myler, it's about trying to keep his team's spirits up, and just keep telling them, look, you are good enough to play these opposition, play these teams. You've won promotion. You beat a Premier Division team to get here, so to just keep going and going, and eventually the points might start to come. Unfortunately for them, I don't see it happening on Friday night or the game after that. I hope. But look, it's been a season of shocks. It's been so far. It's been a season of shock results, and I think anyway. And you never know. Football. All teams have had 2 weeks off. They've lost their momentum. UCD could spring a surprise. Personally, I don't see it, but I just think they'll be looking to get points on the board, especially with Harps having won the last time out as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The quicker you get the win as well, the better for confidence. But I agree with you. I think it's hard to see. It's hard to see Dundalk not winning the game, to be honest. And in many ways, they have to, particularly with the way they played against Drogheda. They wouldn't be too happy about that. So they've had a couple of weeks to digest that. So for me, I think UCD will get a goal though. 2-1 Dundalk.
I think so. I'll go 2-1 as well.
Maybe Colin Whelan will get his first for the club this season. The showground, Sligo Rovers take on Shelbourne, and I think out of all the teams, and I include Derry in that as well, Sligo wouldn't have wanted to break. To be fair, obviously 12 points in the league. I know they're behind Derry, but 3 wins, 3 draws. I think the last couple of games they'd won by half time, to be honest with you as well.
Yeah.
There's a couple of games anyway where they won by half time, to be fair. They were in good positions, or even against Shamrock Rovers in the 2-2 draw, they were actually 2 up half time. So there seemed to be a team that seemed to be flying in first halves of games. 3-0 up against Drogheda. Pats 1-0 up as well. They went 2-0 up against Pats, you know what I mean? So they seem to start fairly well in games. They look sharp defensively. They look good going forward. Keena has hit the ground running, which is a huge thing, because I wasn't sure. You're never sure when a striker comes back into the league as well, because he was at a couple of clubs and he's struggled a little bit at the last few clubs and that as well. And you're thinking they've lost Johnny Kenny, he's a very good player, etc. Can Keane come in, hit the ground run? He has. He's not just scored goals though; it's the type of goals he scored as well. And I think him and McGonigal have been weighing above the best strikers in the league so far this season. Shelbourne have been very poor, in my opinion. They've 6 points after 7 games, 1 win. Struggling to create chances, now starting to leak goals and bad goals as well. So the time off would have came at a perfect time for Damien Duff and Shelbourne, but I still sense that Sligo, even if they're not in full gear going into this game, that I'd fancy them to win the game.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, and I think you touched on it there. The games that they've won, they've had them over by half time, and I think if they start well, the way they did against Drogheda and Shamrock Rovers, I think they could well have this game over by half time as well. But as we've seen,
it'd be interesting, JP, actually, for them not to start a game well to see how to deal with that. Say you go into the second half. I know they drew at Derry, but it was kind of different. It was at the Brandywell, and you take a 0-0 all day. But it'd be interesting in a game where they're expected to win and it's 0-0 and there's 20 minutes to go, how they deal with that. Because there will come a point where they have to deal with that. And it could be on Friday, who knows?
It could be, because as we've seen prior to the Harps game, Damien Duff has been trying to make Shelbourne a hard team to break down. Now,
Mm.
didn't go too well against Harps for him, but this could be the game where Sligo struggle because his players will be looking for a reaction. Them chances that they conceded against Harps, the goals that they conceded, they won't want to concede them kind of goals again, especially not in the next game after. You touched on Adam Keena there. A striker coming back in the league, you're never sure, but especially a striker who hasn't had a settled club. He's probably since he's left the league, he's been at a different club maybe every years. So it was interesting to see him coming back, and I think it was important for him to hit the game running or hit
Yeah.
the ground running almost straight away, because right away that helps him. It gets the monkey off the back. That he's here, he's blah blah blah. You know what people say, and the fact that he scored 5 goals, I think, in the first 6-7 games, speaks volumes of his quality. And it's not just happens. He's getting all kind of goals, and Sligo, as you say, it'd be interesting to see if they don't start the way they started the last couple of games. You can even throw the game in against some Pats where they started
Oh,
well.
absolutely, yeah.
Or was it 75 minutes? You says they battered some Pats, and then the last 15 was the opposite way around. So against Derry hit the bar in the first couple of minutes against them as well. So had Derry taken that lead, what response would Sligo have shown?
I'm actually trying to think if they've even gone behind this season yet. Again, someone can tell me in the comments. But I can't remember a situation where Sligo
I can't remember.
behind the season.
So it'll be interesting when they go, because there will be a point this season where they will go behind. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. Now, I'm not saying that they can't respond, but it'll be interesting to see, because as we've seen nearly the entire season, they've come out of the blocks flying, got themselves a couple of goals up, took their foot off the gas. I don't know. It cost them against Shamrock Rovers because they got a point out of it. They almost lost it. They beat some Pats, but it almost cost them. Against Drogheda, I think they had the quick turnaround of the Monday, so they wanted to maybe preserve themselves for that Monday fixture. So, again, I can't see anything other than a Sligo win, but I don't think it'll be easy for them, because I think Damien Duff will be looking for a reaction from his players, and he's had 2 weeks to get them on the training pitch and get them back to basically. But at the same time, I don't see Shelbourne creating a lot to cause Sligo a lot of trouble. And Sligo, Will Fitzgerald's got 2 and 2. He'd scored a senior goal in his career before this season, so it's good to see him get the goals out of Keane has come in. 2 new players that have seemed to have hit the ground running, which will please Liam Buckley. And
even Mata looks quite sharp from the game. I've seen him play as well.
One interesting point as well is that centre half has come in as a Pianter.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name, but the New Zealand international. It's unlikely
he played this afternoon. He played this afternoon for New Zealand. So will he be back in time for this? Oh, this fixture's a Saturday, isn't it? There's a Friday as well.
Oh, I think this is Friday as well, actually, believe it or not. It is Friday. They're all Friday, actually, yeah. Even though Sligo are home, usually they play Saturday, yeah.
He from what I seen the Brandywell, he was an excellent player. He's probably been excellent. Sligo Rovers fans can maybe tell us in the comments how he's been, because they're the ones that have seen him the most.
Every week.
It'd be interesting to see if he's back in time. Will he be in the starting lineup? Will he be in the squad?
You'd like to think they have confidence in the likes of Shane Blaney and players that have to come in. But the defence is quite good. And that's the other reason why I find a struggle to see Shelbourne score. They don't look like they're creating chances. Sligo, when they have pretty much their best backline, Ed McGinty has been brilliant this season as well. Again, he's just improving every year. Their backline is just so good as well. So Sligo could score once in this match, and it may be enough to win the game, in my opinion.
Totally agree, yeah. But as I say, I can't see anything other than a Sligo win. I think they might win this. I can't see Shelbourne creating enough, or they cause Sligo enough trouble. They won this game. I think it'll be 2-0 for Sligo for me.
Yeah, I'll go 1-0 Sligo, but as you say, they'll keep that run going for another while as well. Richmond Park, St Patrick's Lake take on Drogheda United, and Tim Clancy will come up against his former club for the first time. In a competitive match, and obviously Pats were beaten last time out to Derry, and Drogheda won last time out. So a couple of weeks ago, you might have said this was a definite 3 points for the Saints. But you know, Drogheda, when they're on it, if you know what I mean, they're a very difficult side to break down. They can be very good on the counter attack as well. And Kevin Doherty would love to get one over his you know, his former boss, so to speak. Yeah, exactly. So interesting game. I think you know, there's a couple of players there. I know Darragh Burns didn't play for the under-21, so I'd imagine he'd be okay to play in this game. I can't think of anyone else that's injured. Obviously, Lennon's still injured for Pats, and Markey's injured, which is a big loss for Drogheda. No sign of Ryan Brennan back either yet. But how do you see this one?
Very interesting game. There's quite a few Drogheda players that were there from last year, isn't there? So
that's another point. Yeah.
So they become
Joe Redmond, Mark Doyle.
Yeah. So, and obviously Kevin Doherty worked underneath Tim Clancy, so he probably knows the game. He probably knows what kind of game they're going to be coming into, what kind of system, setup, whatever. So he
and
probably
vice
knows
versa, you could argue as well, because Kevin Doherty, I believe, was like he was a heavy-handed assistant. You know what I mean? You know, so they'll know each other well, like, you know, which is always
it's going to be. Could well be a game of cat and mouse, so to speak. Again, St. Pat's will be coming into this one. They'd have been disappointed not to hold on for a draw in the Brandywell. Drogheda absolutely delighted to get one over Dundalk. Drogheda
it was a much needed win for Drogheda, though. Apart from the fact it was against Dundalk, like they badly needed that win because of the goals they were conceding, etc. And you know, coming into the game against Pats and Pats click, they've got players who can hurt you. You know, you've Owen Doyle who can score goals, Mark Doyle who can score goals. Drogheda know all about him. Who else? Darragh Burns can get in the score sheet. Forrester. It's very difficult to just stop Forrester. But I did speak about this after the Derry game. I wonder if Rory Higgins set a bit of a template with that four-man midfield, because as I said, Pats generally play with O'Reilly and Forrester. Don't have too many other options with Lennon out as well. Could Drogheda look to flood the midfield? It might be the way to go. I mean, you know, to stop an influence of Chris Forrester by just having sheer numbers in the middle of the park.
Aye, absolutely, because he dictated that second half against Derry, the majority of it anyway. But once Roy Higgins made that substitution and put Brandon Cavan on, it was 4v2 in midfield, and it pushed Chris Forrester about maybe 10-15 yards further back, where he couldn't really dictate the play. Because when he was getting on the ball, there was nobody. He wasn't in between the lines. He was maybe in the halfway line. So any kind of pass he played wasn't really a hurtful pass. He was too far away to maybe have a pop a goal. So it'll be interesting to see how Drogheda set this up. They maybe were they at that game? Did they have somebody at that game watching? Who knows? Will they've got the footage from the game? It'll be interesting. Again, as I said earlier, I think this is going to be a game of cat and mouse, because there's so many players and coaching staff that know one another, and again, Drogheda will be looking to build from that win that they got against Dundalk, and it was an important one because on the very same night, Harps picked up a one as well, and that's the kind of teams that we probably expect Drogheda to be fighting it out with, rather than the likes of Bows and Dundalk and the Sligos and stuff like that. So I'm sure if Drogheda going in this game, will be going down. Obviously, every game you go into, you're looking to win. But if they get a draw out of this, they'll be happy. Because it'll be building on their last game, because they haven't lost. For some Pats, they'll look to get back on the winning streak. They were top of the league going in the last game, and they ended up losing it with virtually maybe the last kick of game. But they'll not be disappointed because they put in a good performance in the Brandywell. They'll just want to see games like that out. But it's a tough one to call. It really is. As you said, a couple of weeks ago, you'd have probably put your house on some Pats. They won it. Saying it's at Richmond Park rather than United or Head in the Game Park. I think I'll go maybe 1-0 some Pats.
I'm thinking on the same lines to a degree. I'm going 2-1 Pats. The reason why I'm going 2-1 is about the 1-0. I think there's a little bit of lack of pace in that Drogheda defence that could be exposed. Also, Pats exposed and they have the capability to do so. Forrester is capable of playing the ball in behind. But on the other hand, I do think compared to some of the teams around them that Drogheda have more scope for goals themselves. The likes of Adam Foley, Chris Lyons, Dean Williams is a very good finisher when he gets in. So there's, I know Markey's out, but he can offer you something as well. Dylan Grimes even. So they've a bit more attacking trust than the others, but I think Pat should nick this one 2-1. Finally then, Finn Harps take on Shamrock Rovers in Ballybuffet. And of course, Finn Harps beat Shamrock Rovers last year in Ballybuffet as well. And Harps obviously won their last game. And I think I said it in the last show, they tend to go on weird runs where they mightn't win for 10 and then they'd nearly be unbeaten in 10, Finn Harps. And you just wonder if that win in Talca Park was the start of a run. Now, to be fair, it's a very tough fixture you're coming into for the start of if you want to go on a run, but they did beat them last year as well. Shamrock Rovers have, they're steady at the moment. They're only 3 points off the pace. I know they played the game more. They're steady at the moment. You do feel they're the type of team that can go on a 5 or 6 winning streak, you see. And that's always something you're thinking at the back of your mind. But if a few... their squad is very good, we know that, but they've a few almost selection issues at the moment where they don't know whether to play Mandrew or Burke, and they won't play Mandrew and Burke together. And I can kind of see why, because you have to play, the two of them play similar in a way, like they play in between the lines, and they obviously don't want to do that with two. Gaffney's worked hard up front, but then you do have Aaron Green as well, who can come in there as well. And, it's strange because unlike a lot of clubs, they've kept pretty much everyone really, and they haven't really brought in too many players either. Yet they look like a team they're still figuring things out, which is a bit odd, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because at the start of the season, everybody had Shamrock Rovers maybe running away with the league again. And look, I think realistically, over the course of 36 games, it's more likely that they will come out on top more than most. As you say, they've got the squad there. They cope with injuries, where if they get 2 or 3 injuries to players the way Derry have, you see the players that come in, it's nearly like for like. And
you could argue sometimes they need 1 or 2 injuries as an excuse for that player not playing. Because there's a little bit of
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You feel like there's a little bit of ego maybe could come into 1 or 2 areas in the pitch, like.
That was exactly my next point. Like, because look, I'm not wishing any injury on certain players, but if say the likes of Graham Burke was injured, then they wouldn't have the
dilemma. Yeah.
The dilemma of do they play Burke or Mandry or vice versa. You know what I mean? So he's built a good squad there. Stephen Bradley. They haven't started well. They've for Shamrock Rovers' point of view, I don't think they've started well, because they are 3 points off the pace.
2 defeats and 7 will be disappointing for them as well.
And there's a couple of draws in there as well, isn't there? 2
and and they were in big trouble of having 3 defeats with the Sligo game as well.
But I think that's something that they'll take from the Sligo game, is that they were 2-0 down and they showed that they have the fight. They have the fight in them. They never give up. They come back. And if it wasn't Fred McGinty, it was quite possible they could quite possibly have won that game, and everybody's thinking differently about them. But this is, make no bones about this. This is going to be a difficult fixture for Shamrock Rovers. Ballybuffet always is for every team. We know they went there last year and lost. Was it 3-0 or 3-1 they lost up there?
I remember they got a brilliant team goal in the game, though. Did they lose 3-2 or 2-1? I can't remember.
Maybe the Harps fans can correct us on that.
Over my head. I can remember the game, but I can't remember the exact scoreline.
Exactly. I think was that team goal was a goal that stands out.
Musto got the goal, I believe, as far as I remember.
That's right. Yeah, it was back post. I think he put it on the back post. So we know Ballybuffet is a tough place to go to, especially whenever you're coming off the back of an international break and you haven't started the season well, and people's questioning you're questioning your character and whether you're going to be the same team this year, or can they go again, and blah blah blah. And it's if this was Tala, I would say that it'd be simple win for Shamrock Rovers, but it's in Finn Park, and I think Finn Harps will make it difficult because they will be coming into this, yes, off an international break, which is probably a disappointing side because they would have wanted this fixture last week. They build on the win against Shelbourne. I still think they will. Still think they will build on that win. Whether they can get it on Friday night against Shamrock Rovers, who knows? We know they have Drogheda straight after that on Monday night or Tuesday, I think it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Finn Harps will put in. They'll make it difficult for Shamrock Rovers. Can Shamrock Rovers break them down is the main, because we know that Finn Harps will probably sit in and try and hit them on the counter. They'll not take this game. I believe they'll not try and take the game to Shamrock Rovers because that's where Rovers. That's probably what Rovers would want. So this is going to be another interesting game. I think every fixture this week is interesting for one way or another, and I think this game's no different.
Yeah, I'm thinking while you're talking there, I think I'll go for Shamrock Rovers to nick it though, but I do agree with you. I think I can see a performance by Finn Harps, but I almost feel like Shamrock Rovers will think they have to go up there and get the 3 points by hook or by crook.
Yeah. And that's where Rovers could be dangerous when they actually need to get the 3 points, because they know that if they don't get the 3 points, Derry has their game in hand straight after, which is against UCD. And Sligo has their game in hand coming up as well, which is against Bow. So they'll not want to lose any more ground than necessary over them two teams. And I'm gonna say Rovers will win it, but not by much. Not by much. There's something telling me that Harps might get a draw out of it though.
Could do.
There's something telling me Harps will get a draw, but
go with your gut.
You know what? I actually am. I'll say a draw for Finn Harps, and I think Finn Harps will get a draw out of this. And this is not me sitting with my Derry City head on, hoping for Rovers to drop points. But
it's just genuine what you think.
I just genuinely feel like it's in Ballybuffet. They're hard to beat up there, and especially if it's.
It wouldn't shock me either. I'm kind of nearly there with you as well. Just not quite, but nearly there.
I think I'll go for a draw in this game. You know, I really do. I think Finn Harps might put in a performance that gets them a draw. Totally could go the opposite way, and I could have a fish. You know what I mean? But
it'll be 6-0 there at Shamrock Rovers or something. So you heard it here first.
Again, that would not surprise me. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'll stay a draw for Finn Harps.
I got 1-0 Shamrock Rovers. Look, JP, thanks for coming on. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit your bell notification button, and that's a wrap. Thanks very much, lads. Cheers.